What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Mr. Power, and we back with episode 15 of the Mr. Power podcast. We got a very, very special guest, long awaited. Your boy, Moviebot. Say what's good to the people, man.
How are you doing, Mr. Power Universe? First of all, thank you for having me on. Great pleasure to finally speak to you and, of
Mhm.
course, your audience, our audience, the Power community, the Power fans. So hopefully we can kind of put on a good little podcast and a good little show on for everybody during the Power off season. I think it's been a while since we've got any Power news. Maybe
Mhm.
after this episode kind of airs, maybe we get some news on Raising Canaan. But hopefully this kind of
Fact.
keeps everybody busy and keeps everybody kind of on the Power wavelength.
Absolutely. So the first thing I wanted to ask you doesn't even have anything to do with the show necessarily. I feel like this is something that people just kind of look over, they don't really talk about. What does the word power actually mean to you? Like, not even including the show, but like, what does the word power mean to you when you first think of that? Like, what is power to you?
I think it's a great question. I think if you look at, obviously, if you're looking at power in terms of a broader perspective, in terms of whether you're talking about the show Power or not, if you're looking at the broader perspective, power kind of comes in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Whether you're talking
Mhm.
your school, your studies, I know a lot of people. I know a few of my audience bases. Some of them study. Whether it's your job, whether it's your projects that you're working on the outside, or whatever kind of extracurricular stuff you've got going on the outside of the world, away from power, away from the TV shows. Power can
Mhm.
be applied to a lot. Power can be applied to a lot of things, and I think something that I kind of resonate to when it comes to power is the gym. I think
Mm,
just a discipline
good point.
discipline and power always starts with your mindset. And
Mhm.
early on, a couple of years ago, when I was going through a bad patch, I think as many of us do, as we're human, we're humans, so
Mhm. Absolutely.
we all go through a bad patch. But I think something that gets overlooked is the best medicine, which is the gym. I think that builds the best power that you can ever have. And I think the best power that you can have is your mindset. If you get control of,
Facts.
if you get control over your mindset, if you can kind of control your thinking, the way you can kind of alter and kind of believe you can achieve anything you can achieve, then that's the best power that you can possibly have, which is your mindset. I believe that
Mhm.
I believe that mindset works and starts from the gym, which is from my own personal experience. It may be something
Mhm.
different for another person, but for me, it started in the gym. So power for me is the strength of your mindset. But Gunnar, great question that was.
Absolutely. I like how you reference the gym because I feel like that's really like my go-to for everything. If I'm going through something,
Mhm.
just go work out. If I'm stressing, just go work out. I got to think about something or a video I'm lost, just go work out. I feel like that idea of like putting yourself through something difficult is what's going to push you to, do other things in certain moments where you might not want to. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, no, I think it's
Let's get into that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think it's probably the best medicine that you can get. I mean, in the world that we're kind of living at the minute, the crazy world that we live in terms of X,
Mhm.
Y, and Z. Not to go too deep into conspiracy theories, but I think the gym, the mindset, the power that you can kind of build is the best form of medicine, and the best thing is it's free. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's the short answer.
I agree. So going into power, right? How did you like come across this show?
Oh, great question. So I think I came across the show. So if I was to be honest, I didn't watch the show back in 2013. It began in 2013. Um,
Yeah.
I have a group of friends that we normally kind of get together on the week, get together on a Friday and a weekend after we finish the working week, or a stressful week of college or uni. At the time, I was studying, so we get together at the end of the week, and they'd be talking about this show called Power. Ghost. They always used to reference Ghost, Angela, and they always used to say, "Oh, have you seen the new episode of Power? You've seen the new episode of Power." And I'm very kind of, I never kind of succumb to peer pressure in terms of just jumping on the bandwagon with kind of watching TV shows that everybody's talking about. I mean,
Mhm.
I literally just watched Game of Thrones in the last year or so, just in the,
For real?
yeah, for real, man. Yeah, yeah,
I peep you was talking about the red wedding. You referenced the red wedding
yeah,
with
yeah.
the power wedding. I was like, yeah, you on it, you on it.
Yeah, yeah, and I wish they kind of did more about the red wedding in Power Book 2 Ghosts. I'm sure we're probably going to get into it in a bit more detail shortly. But yeah, I just watched Game of
Mhm.
Thrones not too long ago, and I only just watched How to Get Away with Murder, a couple of weeks ago. So I never succumbed to peer pressure in terms of
Oh wow,
TV shows. So,
yeah.
but this one I gave it a go. I actually started watching season 2 before I did with season 1. So I watched a couple of episodes of season 2 as it was kind of airing, and then I kind of went back over and rewatched the first season, and since then, it's I was hooked ever since. And
Yeah,
then obviously the expansion of the whole Power universe. The rest is history with what 50 Cent has done.
absolutely. Yeah, he's a freaking genius, man. I've never seen someone so strategic
Yeah,
in the public eye like that.
yeah. I think with 50 Cent, he's well, I listened to his book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. I listened to the audio version because I haven't
Hmm.
got time to kind of sit there and read as much. So I tend to listen to the audiobooks while I drive, or while I'm on a walk, or while I'm doing some cardio at the gym. And he referenced how, when he was kind of getting big in the music industry, he recognized everything is beginning to change. Everything's changing in terms of, his audience base is changing. So he spotted the gap in the market in terms of the TV industry, and he said, okay, I'm going to transition from music into the TV industry, and I'm going to kind of take my audience base over to Power and whatever TV shows he's now creating, and it's smart. It's not exactly like he stopped his music, but he put that
Yeah.
on a bit of a back burner, and obviously he's concentrated on his TV shows, and obviously his success kind of speaks for itself. And I think as the world's kind of changing, I think a lot of people kind of now move over to kind of the TV shows, rather than kind of listening to like the what's going on in the other kind of industries. So yeah, 50 Cent got his spot on, because you see a lot of these artists kind of being left behind, whereas 50 Cent, all you see, he just keeps growing. He just keeps growing.
Yeah.
Just keeps
Yeah.
evolving. Just keeps adapting, and he's always kind of striving to change with the ways, because if you're not changing, you're kind of being left behind. And that's what I think everybody can
Hmm.
take from 50 Cent in terms of the way he's kind of created this whole Power universe as well.
I agree. Like, I feel like the real difference between him and everyone else is just like consistency. Even if the magnitude of the work that you're putting out isn't spectacular every time, at least it's still coming, right? Like people can rely on you. I feel like 50's just been able to keep doing that. And going into Power, right? What was it about the show? Because I know you said you didn't like start watching it right away. You didn't want to buy into the hype or whatever that you was hearing. What was it about the show that's different than other shows that you've watched that got you hooked, that had you like, oh, like I got to go back and watch season one?
So the difference between this show and any other show, well, specifically Power as such. At the time, I
Hmm.
was studying law,
Hmm.
and while I was studying law, I got hooked in the sense, Power's got this kind of, you've got this task force, you've got Joe Proctor.
Hmm.
I've
Hmm.
always been, it's a different kind of show, compared to your Suits and your How to Get Away with Murder. That's one of the reasons why
Hmm.
I kind of enjoy those shows, because I studied law, and my kind of background is within law and business. But that's kind of what kind of first drew me to season 2 of Power, when first initially started to watch it. But then you've got the characters of Ghost, Tommy. I think the first 2 seasons was so very well written by by
Oh
Tony
God.
Kemp and the rest of the writers. I think it was a masterpiece, and I think if that kind of stayed consistent throughout the whole series, then we'd be kind of talking about one of the greatest shows that was created. Unfortunately, it did kind of tail off at the back end of it, a back end of the series. But yeah, it definitely could have been better. But that's something that drew me to Power originally. Yeah.
So when you look at Power, especially like the OG Power, what was the character that you kind of resonated most with, like that you were waiting to see on screen? Like when he's on screen, you're locked in, like you're paying attention. Was it Ghost? Was it Tommy? Was it Kanan? I feel like you can't pick a wrong one.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people kind of would naturally pick Ghost and
Ghost.
Tommy and
Yeah.
Kanan, and you probably see a lot of people would pick Ghost. I mean, this one will probably be a bit controversial, and I'll explain as to why I'm going to pick this character. But my character,
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, my character that I could kind of resonate to is Dre, and not
Mm,
of a snake, of a snitch, but the kind of character that
yeah.
he kind of grew into. If he was someone who
Hmm.
stayed on the right path in terms of, I believe, I think I did a good job in terms of staying on the right path. But if Trey was
Hmm.
able to stay on the right path, I think we would have been able to speak about how he could have been a mini version of a ghost, because he was certainly there. Do you know what I mean? He
Hmm.
grew, he learned from Kanan, he was mentored by Kanan, he was mentored by Ghost. He grew into the drug business. He was savvy, he was cunning, he was smart, but he also learned the drug business. Sorry, he also learned the club business and the club truth. He kind of took over when Ghost wasn't around, when Ghost wasn't in club truth, when he wasn't kind of running things, when he was in jail. You saw Dre,
Hmm.
and I think his evolution from where he initially began to where he could have potentially have been. I think I kind of resonate to Dre, because I was kind of a very shy kind of person growing up. Glasses,
Hmm.
spiky hair, bit of a geek. Not very, yeah,
Yeah.
not very confident. Even behind the microphone, when I first started on YouTube, I wasn't very confident. I wasn't a confident speaker. Um, um, Quite shy in terms of in kind of social situations. But as you grow, as kind of Dre kind of grew in the series, you pick up that confidence. You kind of saw him go from the streets to wearing the suits and ties. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's what I kind of resonate to. I used to be in the hoodies and the shorts and the joggers and the Stone Islands. But as I kind of grew, my kind of dress sense kind of changed. I was dressed a
Hmm.
lot more smarter. Not kind of because of power, because of I was kind of evolving as a character. It made me more confident.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a controversial pick, definitely. But I think picking Ghost and Tommy and Kanan, I think it's just a straight up boring answer that everybody's gonna kind of give. So I thought, yeah, let's pick.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I'm glad you said Dre because I feel like Dre's one of those characters that gets disrespected so much because he was a snitch.
Hundred
And I
percent.
feel like had he not been a snitch, like he would get a lot more credit. Because even what you said, referencing, when Ghost was gone and Dre was running the club, Karen Bassett loved Dre.
Oh yeah, hundred
Like
percent.
she wanted Dre around. Like people don't really talk about that. Like everyone's seen the potential in Dre's character, but I just felt like he felt like he was running things. And I made a video about this the other day about like rule number one, never outshine the master. Right. And I referenced that scene when Dre came to the funeral site when Ghost was mourning Rainer, right? And he was telling him like the Jimenez is gonna come after you, you know. And at that point, Ghost had made it in his mind, like, I'm gonna take you out, right? Took 2 seasons, but he got too bit of specky to do it still. And
Yeah,
this just goes to show you, like, if you don't humble yourself, like, yeah, Dre was on the come up, but I think he went about it in the wrong way.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if he went about it the right way, like he said, he wants to be the biggest drug dealer in New York, and at one point he was this close to kind of achieving his kind of goal. And I think something else that I loved about Dre was his ambition. You know, he always kind of
Hmm.
strived to be the best, the top dog, always climbing. Of course, like you said, you know, the way he went around with things in terms of going behind Tommy's back in terms of killing Julio. That's definitely something that I will never forgive him for, never forget.
Oh God,
Yeah,
so bad.
yeah, yeah. That's a,
So I want to ask you about that too, because you kind of talked about the potential of Dre. I don't know if you heard about this before, but apparently Rotimi was supposed to be kind of like the next Ghost, right? But then he told Courtney like, "Nah, I want to be the villain." How much of that do you think played into like how he turned out?
yeah. I've heard a few different things about this. I've had a few different
Yeah.
interviews, and you know, this could have gone this way, or you know, they were thinking about potentially having Cooper Sachs audition for the original role of Tommy Egan. And there's a few things that I've heard.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard
Yeah, and
that. That's funny.
I think it'd make for a kind of great what if series because
Hmm.
I think there's a few different kind of uh, scenarios that they looked at before they kind of came to the conclusion in terms of the original casting. But I think if Dre as a villain, I think he played I think he kind of played the role as a villain really well. I mean, I think there was also rumblings
Hmm.
of Ghost being killed off around season 4 or 5, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. 50, 50 did an interview actually. He talked about it a couple times, but he did an interview with Gillian Wallow,
Yeah.
and they were pretty much talking about this whole Omari Hardwick beef and whatever, whatever. And 50 pretty much was saying that like Ghost was supposed to die in season 5. Courtney wanted to kill him off, but 50 was like, nah, like I'm gonna extend it. And then we kind of got season 6, which kind of explains why we got this out of whack. Never before seen Ghost, you know, the way he was acting was completely out of character, but we can get into that too.
Yeah. What do you
But yeah, apparently the show was supposed to end in season 5. You
Yeah,
said what?
what do you think? What do you think? Because if I think around 5 seasons is a sweet point for the sweet mark for a lot of these shows, for them to kind of create and write a really well written show, and create a masterpiece.
Yeah,
You're talking Breaking Bad had 5 seasons. I think Snowfall just went above 5 seasons, 6 seasons, but
yeah, they did.
Snowfall was still very well written, you know, all throughout the 6 seasons. There was a couple of bits that I didn't like within Snowfall. I think if Power kind
Mhm.
of stuck to 5 seasons, I think it would have been. I think the story would have been a bit more tight. I think the story would have been a bit more better if you know if it came to an end. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it just really depends on the writing. My thing is, I feel like things occur behind the scenes that really like affect these things
Yeah,
because you don't just
yeah,
go from great writing to just bad writing out of nowhere, bro. Like something had to happen between the relationships between people behind the scenes because like when you do 4 or 5 seasons of a show, I feel like the actors are so invested in the characters, they feel like they know them and stuff. So that has to create some type of conflict with the directors, the writers, you know, Amari and everything. And he kind of talked about it in an interview too. He was like, he didn't like how Tariq killed Ghost. He didn't like a father killing a son. That's why he was really upset. He didn't care that Ghost got killed off. Like, we knew that was going to happen. Like, I feel like anybody who was surprised at Ghost's death just didn't watch the show. Like,
yeah.
he was going to die, bro. From
Yeah,
episode 1, I knew.
he
Yeah.
was definitely gonna die, and I think we have to probably talk about the topic of these ghost kind of alivers and kind of ghost alive
Absolutely.
theories. And I think it's a topic that people would probably want to hear and probably want to hear us talk about. So I've got my
Yeah.
opinion in terms of I think he is dead. I think Omari has kind of done a lot of interviews, as you probably kind of picked up on over the past years,
Hmm.
and more recently that you know he's not been happy with his paycheck or whatever.
Hmm.
And you know, like you said, there's probably a lot of politics behind the scenes in terms of him not being happy with how it ended. So I don't see him coming back at all. I think it's gone past, you know, the story in terms of bringing him back. And I referenced it in a couple of my recent breakdowns. You know, if you are going
Hmm.
forward with the Power universe in terms of, you know, going forward in terms of Tariq's trajectory, Tommy's character, and whatever else that you are then going to create in terms of a Kane spin-off potentially, or a Rashad Tate influence spin-off. Are you moving forward with the Power Universe, or are you moving backwards if you then bring Ghost back? And then when you bring, if you were to bring him back, after a few seasons, you then have to go and kill him off again. It's,
Yeah.
where does it kind of end? You're going round in circles. So I'm fully in the belief that, he is dead. He's probably not going to come back. I'm hoping this 50 and Omari beef, again with 50, you just never know, because he's a master kind of marketer in terms of marketing this show. And we've seen, as we've seen it plenty of times in terms of, when it's time to kind of announce something, he will always kind of create a stir on social media. He'll get people talking. He'll get Twitter trending. He'll get the YouTubers talking. He'll get the numbers flying. And then all of a sudden, they're kind of going to announce Power Origins, and 50 Cent is a very intelligent marketer. So if there is any kind of funny business, let's see. But yeah, what's your opinion? I'm kind of intrigued to kind of know your thoughts.
But see, with me, I always thought Ghost was dead. Like from the moment I started watching the show, I was like, there is no way Ghost is going to survive. Like he's creating so many enemies. Like he's just too good. You know those people in life who just always win. Like they just get the
Yeah.
dub no matter what. Eventually they go down. Like and every season I'm just like, damn, like go survive this, go survive this. At some point they're gonna want to kill him off. And like season 6 was just like a foreshadowing of that the whole time. When they introduced Uncle Gabe, I was like, yeah, Ghost is dead. Like we don't know his entire family, the whole series. We still don't know anything about him. But then they give us like a taste of his uncle and things of that nature. So I was like, yeah, I knew he was dead. And then there was people who were saying, well, in Power Book 2, Ghost is gonna come back and things of that nature. And I think we even heard Omari say that they asked him to come back, but the pay wasn't right. I just saw this rift between Omari and Stars, and I was like, I don't think he's ever gonna come back. And kind of like you said, it pushes the story backwards because Omari is a lead character. You're not going to bring back a lead character that's going to contradict Tariq's story, right? We're trying to see him develop. So
For sure,
that's
yeah.
how I felt about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because I think he's so dearly loved by the Power fans, and I think if he was to come back,
Yeah. I miss him, man.
yeah,
Like, there's just no one like him, bro.
and
Nobody.
yeah, and do you know what it is? I've had this conversation with a few good friends, and I've said, when Amari was on screen, he brought a different energy,
Different.
and you could tell that, when he was on screen, Michael Rennie Jr. brought a different energy. Tommy brought, like,
Facts.
Joseph Sakura brought a different
Facts.
energy. I think, especially with Michael Rennie Jr., I think when you see a couple of scenes with him and Amari back in Original Power, I think one that kind of resonates to me is one that I touched on recently in one of my videos. It was season 6, episode 9. It was when Tariq came into Club Truth
In the club.
and
Yeah.
told him that, listen, if you touch my mother again, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And just have a look at the facial expressions. Have a look at how they
Hmm.
were kind of literally in each other's kind of faces. That kind of energy, and I feel that kind of energy was kind of missing in Power Book 2 Ghosts, and I think that kind of, I think with Amari's kind of level of acting, and I think with I think you even see it with Patina Miller in Raising Kanan Rock.
Facts.
You
Yeah, we're
see
gonna get into
her,
that too.
yeah, you
Hmm.
see her bringing that kind of energy. It kind of brings everybody up. It kind of makes everybody kind of step up their game.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think, because, sorry if we're going a bit off topic, I do think Patina Miller is, kind of up there, Amari Hardwick level. She is,
I agree.
arguably, is it controversial to say top 3 in Power in terms of
No, bro. You know what's crazy? I made a video about Patina Miller and kind of what I expect for Rock in season 4. I literally said in my video, she's a top 3 actor in the Power universes. Ghost,
there you go, great minds.
Joseph, and her. Period.
Yeah.
Period. This is my thing, right? And we can kind of jump around with this. Kind of how you said what Omari brought to Power, right? I made a video about this, and I know you saw this scene with, Tariq, where he's like, "I'm Tariq St. fucking Patrick," right?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you ever think a scene like that would have made the cut in the OG Power, bro? Like, this is my thing. Is like, I just feel like the reason that Power Book Two Ghosts doesn't have that energy is because you don't have anyone challenging Michael Rainey. Like, don't get me wrong, Woody, he's great, right? But everybody else is kind of like iffy for me.
hmm
With the OG Power, like I feel like Omari and Joseph, like they just pushed Michael Rainey to be way better. You cannot play around on set
yeah,
with those kind of actors. Like they're bringing that energy, and we seen it. And I
yeah,
feel like Michael Rainey's performances were so much better in the OG Power. Even the one scene where he asked Ghost about Breeze, and Ghost kind of like picked him up and slammed him on the table, and he was crying and everything. That was like peak Tariq, bro.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
but
think there's a lot of peak scenes between Amari and Michael Rainey Jr. Even the
a lot. Yeah.
season 5, I think, is it 505? Happy birthday, the birthday scene with the cake. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, there's
bro
obviously.
brought him the Jordans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's Tariq telling him, "Teach me the motherfucking game, Ghost," and
Oh, yeah, that was my favorite one. Yeah,
there's yeah, I think yeah, he brought a different energy, and you can tell, you can tell, the Power universe misses it. But again, regardless of the energy that he brought, regardless of the kind of actor he is, again, are you moving forward if you're kind of moving backwards by bringing Ghost back? It's a
yeah,
it's a difficult one, but I think you just got to kind of let Ghost go. You got kind of just got to let Ghost rest, and he's kind of had his time on Power.
facts. So I know you kind of talk about how the first two seasons were like peak Power, right? If it had continued like that, we'd be talking about one of the greatest shows ever. When do you think it started to take that like turn left, and why? What was it in the story that kind of had you like, all right, like this isn't the Power that I remember watching before?
I think season 5 was, I think, pretty great, but I think something that they could have done differently to kind of keep that level was, and I don't think it's a fault of the writers or anything. I think if they kept Jukebox around for a little longer, just to
Hmm.
cause a bit more chaos and mayhem for Tommy and Ghost in New York, because
Yeah,
I think, did she stay in Washington? Um,
yeah, that's what they said, I think.
okay, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah,
if she came to New York and created a hell of a lot of chaos between Ghost and Tommy, because if I'm not mistaken, from my research and from a couple of interviews that I've read and heard, I believe Jukebox was actually supposed to be the one to kill Raina St. Patrick originally, rather than Ray Ray.
damn, wow, I didn't
Now,
even know that.
if yeah, that's something new, and I think a lot of the audience might not know that either. So I think Jukebox was originally supposed to kill Raina, and that would have been end of season 4. But obviously,
Hmm.
they had to kill Jukebox's character because Anika Rose had landed a lead role in a different show, in a different TV show. I can't remember exactly which TV show it was. So then
Damn.
yeah, then they had to kind of kill her off in Power. And I think it's kind of one of those where kind of scheduling conflicts kind of sometimes can happen in the world of TV. These are the kind of things which you can't kind of
Mhm.
predict. If someone's got an opportunity elsewhere to lead a show, then you can't kind of exactly take that away from them. But I wish they kind of kept Jukebox around for another season, because if she was supposed to kill Raina St. Patrick, and if she did kill Raina, then I reckon we would have seen in season 5, it would have been a lot different, in the sense that I don't think, obviously, Ray Ray wouldn't have killed Arena, and I think if Jukebox did, we would have seen that showdown between Tasha and Jukebox, and
Mm.
that's a showdown which I think which would have been pretty fire, because you've got, on one side, you've got Jukebox, who was really ice cold, who would have killed Raina, and then you've got Raina's mother on the other end who would want revenge and want to avenge her daughter's death. So I think that would have kind of changed something. I would have loved to have seen that. But I wasn't a big fan of the political angle that they took with Ghost's character. I think that kind of story got a little stale, a little kind of. I didn't find myself too kind of interested in the story, and I know when I'm watching a TV show, I know, is it kind of gripping my attention? Am I pulling out my phone? Am I kind of scrolling through Twitter while watching this TV show? Or
Yeah.
and that's kind of when you're kind of losing a little interest.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it was around season 6, the political kind of storyline. So yeah, but those are a few changes I'd kind of put in place as well. Jukebox kind of killing Raina. I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved for them to kind of keep that in the kind of script if they could.
Yeah, that's very interesting because the whole mystery of Jukebox is crazy to me because when you watch Raising Kanan, you're like, how did he just kill her so effortlessly without even like hesitating? Like him and Jukebox were family, literally.
Yeah,
Grew
yeah,
up with her. But then you watch the OG Power and you're like, damn, like he really, it's not even the fact that he killed Jukebox. He killed Jukebox for a kid who he was trying to kill anyway to get back at Ghost. So the fact that he killed his own cousin just to save Tariq, I'm just like, what? Like,
yeah. I mean,
like,
let's get into this.
is that is
I
that
think
good writing?
yeah, I think it's a good topic to kind of discuss because I think the reason why Kanan obviously wanted to kill Tariq first to kind of get back at Ghost, and it would have been hell of a
Yeah.
revenge, to kill Ghost's son for what Ghost did to him. But I think as they kind of grew closer, as they kind of spent a lot of time together, I think Kanan kind of saw his old self in Tariq, and now watching Raising Kanan over again over the first couple of seasons, you can actually see a lot of similarities between the two characters. There was
Mhm.
I was rewatching Power, Raising Kanan. I've been rewatching Power as well over the last couple of weeks. But I was rewatching Raising Kanan over the last couple of days, and I rewatched the scene where Kanan was kidnapped, where he set up his own fake kidnapping, and
Mhm.
and it reminded me, I didn't pick it up at the time, but it reminded me of the time where Tariq set up his own fake kidnapping with Vincent Rag
Mhm.
in Power,
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
could see a lot of kind of similar kind of traits between Kanan and Tariq, and I think a lot of them, both of them, kind of share a lot of traits. And I think kind of what brought them together is the hatred of Ghost as well that they had at the time. They shared that hatred of Ghost, and that brought them together. So I can see why Kanan kind of turned to kind of love Tariq like a son that he never had, because Sean was never the son that Kanan wanted. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely not.
Yeah, he was too good. He was too.
I feel like Sean would, I feel like all of the fans watching were just like disappointed in Sean. Cause like you just wanted him to be built for it, but he just wasn't. You just knew
Uh,
he wasn't. I even posted a scene, the scene where he was supposed to try to kill Ghost and Ghost kind of snatches the gun away from him this morning. And I was just laughing at that because I'm like, Kanan knew the whole time that his son wasn't built for that, right? So why would you send your son versus the most dangerous person you've ever gone against? That's one of the things that empowered that just kind of like baffled me.
oh,
Like, Kanan, you know who Ghost is. You gotta go. You gotta
yeah,
go kill him.
it's like
Not send Sean.
yeah, it's like Jukebox said. Why would you kind of send Sean in there when you against someone you
Yeah.
raised to be a gangster? Kanan kind
Hmm.
of raised Ghost and Tommy to be gangsters, and I think that kind of brings me on to the other topic of watching
Power
Ghost.
Origins.
Yeah, Power Origins. Just watch
Yeah.
Ghost, Tommy, and Kanan. Like going back to your earlier question in terms of what changed between Kanan and Jukebox for Kanan to kill, Jukebox in the way that he did. And I think we're probably going to get a lot more answers in Raising Kanan. I think their relationship will deteriorate.
Hmm.
These
Definitely.
As
Yeah.
these next two seasons progress, I think they're going to kind of drift further apart, while kind of Kanan kind of gets deeper into the game, while Jukebox kind
Hmm.
of looks to kind of forge her own path in the world. drift away. But I think that question that you asked in terms of what went wrong with Kanan and Jukebox, you got to ask that question about what went wrong with Kanan and especially Ghost and Tommy when they were younger, because they were at one period they were really close. They loved each other like brothers. I'm sure Kanan looked after Ghost, after Curtis St. Patrick,
Hmm.
St. Patrick died, we know he did, because Tommy says, something to Sean in this. I think he said it early in season one. Kanan raised them to be men. He taught them everything. So that question applies to the relationship between Kanan, Ghost, and Tommy as well. What went wrong? How did their kind of brotherhood kind of fall apart and tear apart? Were there a couple of other people involved in terms of the decision making? For example, Tasha in was
Hmm.
Gosia, because kind of
Hmm.
when you're kind of in a relationship, how Holly was in Tommy's ear about how he could kind of kill Ghost and run the business himself, etc. When someone's in your
Yeah.
ear, you can kind of be swayed and kind of be manipulated. So I think there's going to be a lot of manipulation. There's going to be a lot of these 48 laws of power that me and you kind of love to reference being used
Hmm.
in Power Origins. And I think the way we know Rock is, in terms of her being a master manipulator, liar, killer. You know, I'm expecting the same from Kanan in Power Origins. So I think a lot of these questions will probably be answered, Raising Kanan season 4 and 5, and definitely Origins. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to Origins.
Yeah, for me personally, I feel like Origins could be the best show ever created in the Power universe if they do it correctly,
Hmm.
right? Because like we already know what the end result is of these characters. We already knew who they came to be. The real story for me is like, how did they get to that?
Yeah,
And if you have all of those characters in the show together, like I think you probably think this as well. A lot of people have talked about this. It would just make sense for Kanan to cross over and just be in Power Origins.
hundred
Because
percent.
they always say how they were close and they grew up together. But we do need to see Kanan develop into that monster before he can come raise Ghost and Tommy. And I feel like now in season 4, that relationship between him and Rock is just it's done. I don't think that you can repair that,
No,
especially with Kanan being where he is. Like even in his relationship with Jukebox, like you said, like they were drifting away from each other last season, and
yeah,
I think that's only going to
sure,
continue.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, say family is always family, but what Rock has done
not in
with,
Power.
not in power. Yeah,
Yeah,
you've seen Tommy kill Tony Teresi, his father. You've seen Kanan kill his own son Sean. You've seen Tariq pull the trigger on his own father Ghost. There's countless of examples in
yeah.
terms of power, and I think Rock.
Aren't you tired of that? Like,
Oh
would you hate to see Kanan kill his mom? Like, because I feel like they've just overused this family killing family, father, son, blah, blah, blah. That would really upset me.
yeah, if that was the ending of Raising Kanan, I personally wouldn't like to see it. I genuinely wouldn't like to see that kind of ending, because it's been overused in Power.
Yeah.
It's not even just in Power. It's they even used it in terms of Raising Kanan, in terms of Kanan shooting Detective Howard. Of course, Howard survived
Hmm. Yeah.
at the end of season 1. But again, it's reminiscent to kind of Tariq again. That both of them kind of shooting their fathers. But again, it's been overused. I'm hoping that's not the way it pans out. But there's also another perspective. I think it'd be interesting to hear your perspective on this, because when
Hmm.
they originally wrote Power season 2, I'm sure they never had Raising Kanan in mind. Maybe they did, but I'm sure when they
Hmm.
kind of wrote season 2 of Raising Kanan, they wrote Kanan to say he went to go visit his mom's when he came into Kanan's penthouse. I'm sure you've seen that clip flying around, and you see
Definitely.
people talking about it, and obviously that's a little nugget. Obviously, at that point, they probably didn't know Raising Kanan was coming. So do you think they can potentially go back and have a look at that little nugget that they've left there? And is there something there where they can kind of play on, and is it something that they can kind of use to kind of maybe keep Rock alive in the Power universe? Or do you think her fate is sealed? Do you think she dies at the end of Raising Kanan? What do you think?
I mean, it really just depends. I kind of agree with you. I do not think they had Raising Kanan in mind during season two because I don't think any of them except 50 thought this show was going to pop off. But even with what Kanan said, right, it's still a mystery because some people are saying, oh, his mom is alive and he visited her. And some people are saying, well, maybe he visited her gravesite, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like that's the perfect nugget because we don't know. And it's going to be a mystery until the show is over. Personally, I just don't think it's realistic for Rock to survive. Like, I feel like, just like Ghost, she has a lot of blood on her hands, and it's only going to increase as the seasons go on. And when you have your son on the come up, who's already kind of an adversary or becoming one, that doesn't look well for her. Like, I'm scared for the whole Thomas family. I don't know if any of them are going to make it out, to be honest with you. Marvin, Lou. I made a video the other day, like, saying I hope they don't kill off Marvin because he's one of my favorite characters. I would be hurt.
Yeah.
So I would love to see Rock survive because Patina Miller, like, she's such an amazing actor. Like, you can't make that go to waste.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the rest, of the Thomases, I think the writing is just on the wall for Marvin. Unfortunately, as sad as it is to say,
No.
yeah, as sad as it, as
You
a lot
think
of
so?
people don't.
Before Lou?
Not before. To be fair, I don't think any of the Thomases will go in season 4. I think they'll all make it to season 5. In my
You think
personal
so?
opinion, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I definitely think so. And I think with Marvin, I just feel the evolution that they've taken his character, the way they've kind of turned his relationship around with Jukebox, how he's become a lot more
Hmm.
a lot more softer, a lot more loving, and a lot more understanding in terms of who Jukebox is, a lot more supportive in terms of her sexuality, her music career, kind of her
Hmm.
pushing her to kind of chase her dream. I think it's all set up for Marvin to potentially kind of make that sacrifice, because if you're talking about Kanan becoming the character that he became, we know he's been influenced by Rock. He's been influenced by Rock. He's been influenced by Marvin and a lot of other
Yeah.
characters. But with Jukebox, if we're talking about what made her such a cold, ice cold character, I mean, this was someone who told Kanan, killing killing Tariq isn't enough. You need to really
Yeah.
hurt. You need to really hurt. You
Yeah.
need to really hurt Ghost. That kind of
What
character.
she said, she was like, you gotta hurt him in the heart and the pockets.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Cold blooded.
And this is someone that went through a lot of trauma and heartbreak, and she's definitely been through a lot of trauma and heartbreak already in terms of Nicole's death in Raising Kanan season 1. Then there was
Hmm.
in
Her mom.
her mom in season 2. She built that relationship up again, but then we saw kind of what she went through in terms of the church, her sexuality, her not being accepted as to who she was. Her mom then went, and I think Marvin going will only contribute towards her being a lot more ruthless, ice cold, and potentially even pushes her into becoming a cop. We need to see
Mm.
those answers as to how she became a cop and why she chose that path. I think there's a little nugget in terms of her going to the army. Let's see whether they build on that in season 4. I think that's a question that definitely needs to be answered as well.
I agree. With knowing that Jukebox is pretty much gonna survive, could you also see her as a character that would be in like Power Origins?
Yeah, I would like to think so. I would like to think so.
Yeah.
I think her. Funnily enough, I made a breakdown on it just not too long ago, and I referenced how she said, Ghost was someone who always had his head in his books, but also vicious with a
Hmm.
piece. Kind of referencing, the Ghost double life, and how Ghost, used to kind of live a double life when he was younger as well at the same time. And I think if Jukebox knows that from Ghost, and I think she even said, Ghost looks good. When they kind of came face to face again, when she had Tariq at gunpoint. So
Yeah.
these were two characters that definitely crossed paths at some point. Jukebox and Ghost definitely saw each other and definitely had an interaction, 100%. And I think Jukebox definitely has to cross over. If it's not kind of, I think the story will be more centered around Ghost and Tommy's come up. We might see Uncle Gabe. We may see a younger version of Kate Egan. We may see Care to St. Patrick. We're going to see all of these other characters. But I do think in and around Queen's, Jukeboxes definitely has to kind of pop in and there and kind of make an appearance or two and cross paths with Tommy and Ghost. Actually, in fact, it's just popped into my mind now. And when Ghost and Tommy kind of came face to face after Kanan killed Jukebox, Tommy kind of referenced Jukebox to this, this crazy bitch. So if that, I mean, you got to picture it. I mean, if that's coming from someone like Tommy, for someone like Tommy to call you crazy, a crazy character like Tommy, a sociopath, like Egan, to call you a crazy bitch, she's completely turned by the time kind of
off the rails.
Kind of Tommy and Ghost have kind of met her, and I think she's probably going to have a few interactions, maybe a few conflicts, maybe a few kind of coming togethers, maybe they kind of butt heads. Who knows? I'd love to see it, because I think Jukebox, she's a really hard kind of ice cold character, and I think I referenced it as well in my recent breakdown. It's when we met Kanan, he was very naive, very vulnerable, whereas Jukebox, she was a lot more streetwise. She was a lot more smarter. She was a lot more kind of tougher, a lot more stronger. She was a lot more kind of aware of, what was what the world that they were kind of living in. And she even said to Kanan in I believe it was in season 1, episode 5, there are secrets you don't know about our family. So this was someone who was a lot more stronger and streetwise than Kanan. And I think her kind of interacting with Ghost and Tommy in Power Origins, I'd love to see it. I don't know about you, but yeah, I'd definitely love to see it. What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely love to see that. I want to see them tie in as many storylines as possible that is relevant. Like they got to use all these characters and kind of tie them together, because there's Easter eggs all over OG Power.
100%.
So it's just really a matter of like, what do they want to capitalize on? And I feel like Jukebox is a character that like we all felt like got smoked way too fast. Like way too fast. There was too much to explore there. And I just would have loved to see her go up against Ghost or Tommy, or even just interact with Tommy, or interact with some of these other characters. I just feel like there's so many characters in Power that just never got to like interact. Like, for example, like Lobos and Dre. Like I would have loved to see Dre interact with Lobos and see how he would react to him. Maybe if Lobos would see something in Dre, like just little things like that.
Yeah,
But I want to
definitely.
talk about the Power Book 2 before we finish up here, because I know you feel some type of way about this past season like I do.
100%. I think this is a topic that definitely has to be spoken about, and it's a
Yeah.
tricky one, because I was actually thinking about this past season, literally over the last day or two, and I know there was a lot of rumblings, or kind of before Book 2 Goes season 4 even came on air, because obviously they can't, well, they say they cancelled the show, and so there was kind of this there was this kind of like, at the beginning there was, well, why are they cancelling this show? They're cancelling the kind of the best show in the Power universe. Of course, debatable. Cancelling the best show in the Power universe, and whatever. That was the kind of sentiment before we kind of got into season 4. And then as season 4 kind of progressed, it was, I think what didn't help was the big 2-month hiatus that they took after episode that really kind of, everybody was kind of looking forward to, seeing how it kind of all unfolds. And I think it was just underwhelming in the sense that there was too many kind of loose ends and loose threads that they should have tied up. It was way too fast. I think there were way too many kind of moving chess pieces, moving storylines, moving plots that it was way too quick to kind of bring it to a full conclusion. And I do think we have to kind of discuss the other perspective. I think there was a writer's strike while they were kind of writing it, to kind of just film it in time just before the kind of writer's strike hit. And I don't know whether that kind of played a part. I think they kind of may have done, what they could under the circumstances. So, we do have to look at that perspective. But overall, as a whole, I personally was disappointed because I think, as I said, there was a lot of loose threads. I think a lot of characters, such as Braden, I think his character was really well developed from seasons 1 to 3. But in season 4, I mean, he just turned into a bit of a
Fumbled.
he just turned into a
Yep.
bit of a smackhead. All he was doing was, sniffing coke and I mean, created the business, no lie, and he was there for Tariq, had his back. But I think I think his character did get quite a little butchered, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, definitely his character definitely got butchered, and I think in terms of the ending, I get what they've done in terms of setting it up for the next spin-off. I get what they've done, but the ending with the way they've kind of filmed it, it does make me question. It goes back to my point that I raised at the beginning.
Mhm.
Did they know that it was going to come to an end? Because the way that it came to an end, you're kind of closing off pretty much all of these storylines at least for the main core cast. Kane's gone off. He's on the run. Effie's back at Stansfield. Brayden's kind of just running the fight club. Tariq's kind of become so-called biggest drug dealer in New York. Monet's dead. Do you have Power Book 2 Ghost without Monet? Drew's gone to Paris. So was it really the end? Did they really know it was the end? I think there might be something in it. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe they did have kind of a storyline in season 5 planned where they kind of brought in the Italians. I think they left a little nugget for the Italians. I've spoken about Carlos Civello, the Civello mob, and Elisa Marie Proctor. I think that's a storyline they can definitely bring in the future. But
Mhm. Mhm.
I think,
Mhm.
yeah, one of my biggest kind of irritations of this past season was just loose threads. For example, Rashad Tate not finding out Detective Carter was the one who killed his brother. I think
Yes.
he
Yes.
is that's again Junior. He was the driving force for Detective Carter, kind of chasing Tariq from episode 2 onwards. But all of a sudden, kind of Junior's death is just kind of being swept under the rug. Paz Valdez
I swear.
is she not questioning her son's death? Who was behind her death? She was kind of willing to go to Club Truth with a gun to kind of kill Ghost for her sister. Is she
Mhm.
not coming back for revenge, knowing it was knowing that she's probably got an inkling that a St. Patrick has got something to do with it, because Junior and Paz had that conversation. You know what I mean? That he was going after
Yeah.
St. Patrick, and again, is Paz not going to kind of question what happened to Junior, or is Detective Carter not getting her answers? Again, there's a lot of loose threads that I think should have been tied up, which I don't know whether they'll be tied up, but I think you probably have similar thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, all of the stuff you said kind of highlights to what I've been saying about Power Book 2 for a while is they just have too many characters and too much going on. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think this is just like a season 4 thing. Like I think even in season 3, like there was just a lot going on. I think with the whole Rashad Tate thing, I think that apparently like he was filming something else, so he could only do like one episode. Well, if he's
Oh,
filming something
okay.
else and he can only do one episode, why tie him into the storyline at all to leave a whole loose ending? And the whole thing with
Mm-hmm.
Carter, right? The one thing I didn't understand with Carter is him getting arrested. How are you the lead of the task force and someone working under you is able to arrest you for being dirty when he's also dirty? Okay, yeah, maybe he was crossing some lines that he said they shouldn't cross, but they're still dirty nonetheless. So I just
100%.
didn't understand like him going to jail. You might as well have just killed him because I don't see Carter coming back in any time in the future of the Power Universe if they unless they do plan to do this Tommy and Tariq spinoff. That's also something I wanted to talk about with Tariq going to Chicago possibly. If he does go, then what? Like,
Mm.
okay, he pops up to Chicago to help Tommy, but then what is next for his character?
It's an interesting topic. I think just kind of going back to that question in terms of Detective Carter at first. I think
Hmm.
I do agree, and I disagree. I agree and disagree at the same time. I think for Carter, I think the kind of way they kind of executed it was probably. I would have liked to have seen it different. As like I said, I still would have loved to have seen Rashad Tate find out Detective Carter was the one who killed his brother. But then I think if you did have
Definitely.
Rashad Tate find out Carter killed his brother, then there's no way Carter survives. He is going with
Mm-hmm.
20 fucking bullets, and Rashad Tate would have come into his old dog character. He would have spat on him. He would have
Yeah,
he would have he would have gone into town with Detective Carter there. But I think a character like Carter, him being a cop, I think I can understand it because him going to prison is worse than death for his character. I think
definitely.
when you're a cop and you're in prison and you're in the same cell block as a couple of kind of people that you put in prison yourself, I think that's a different
Mm,
kind of torture. It's going to be a different kind of torture for Detective Carter, and I think if we do get that spin-off with Tommy and Tariq, I think that's probably a great kind of topic to kind of end on. And I think if we do get that spin-off with Tommy and Tariq, who knows? Maybe they kind of touch on Detective Carter and what he's what he's up to. But yeah, Tariq going over to Chicago, I definitely think it's Tommy on the other end of the phone.
oh
I mean,
yeah.
he references family. You don't think? Do you think anybody else? You think he's speaking to anybody else apart from Tommy?
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I find it baffling that people think it's anybody else but Tommy.
100%.
Like, because I be on TikTok, so like, th- people have different types of theories than you might see on like YouTube, right? People were saying it was Diana. People are saying it was Kane. I'm like, why would Tariq say that Kane and his family like they hated each other the whole series?
Yeah,
And
no.
it's like, my thing is, people were saying that, well, why would Tommy call Tariq for help? Because apparently Tommy shouldn't want to. People are saying that Tommy shouldn't want to work with Tariq because he killed Ghost. But I'm like, isn't he over that by now? Like, is he still really holding that grudge against him?
Well,
I'm not sure.
they squashed that with Tash
Yeah, with Tasha.
with
Yeah.
yeah, with Tasha and Tommy then kind of linked up with Tariq after and kind of said, I mean, even though he didn't have his back in the war that he had with the Tahadis and Noma, he said it's not his war. They didn't exactly end on bad terms,
Yeah.
and I think I think with him squashing it with Tasha, I think they're completely well. They're not fine. I think they still need to have that conversation. I think if
Mhm.
once Tariq and Tommy kind of come together, I think they do need to have that conversation around Tariq killing Ghost.
Mhm.
There's a lot of air that needs to be cleared in terms of what they went through, their history. So that's definitely something that they need to touch on, in my opinion. But yeah, I completely agree here. I think for anybody to think it's anybody but Tommy, then it's crazy because it's not Kane. He's not speaking to Kane. He's not family.
Yeah.
Diana's not family. Braden, I guess he could consider Braden as family, but again, I mean,
Maybe. Yeah.
if it was Braden, then I mean, would they not just show it if it was Would they not just show it if it
Right.
was Braden?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
yeah, it's definitely Tommy, and I think probably pop up at the end of Chicago and to kind of answer people's questions in terms of why would Tommy even be calling Tariq for help? Well, you got to remember, I
Yeah.
think at the end of season 2, Tommy and Diamond are in a bit of a conflict because Tommy's making decisions on his own.
Hmm.
So there's a conflict.
Facts.
There's a conflict between Diamond. There's King Kilo.
Jannard is plotting against him.
Janard and Shanti are
Yeah.
plotting against him,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
there's also Miguel Garcia who's definitely going to be after Tommy. So
Mm.
that's 3 situations just there. Now, if you want to add another one to the list, you've got King Kilo, who'd be after DMAC because DMAC was the
Hmm.
one who killed his nephew.
Yep.
I don't know how it's going to be working with the actor because I know he was in kind of some sort of legal trouble. I don't know whether he was able to film for season 3. So obviously that's yet to be seen. But hopefully
Hmm.
they had no issues there. Um, But yeah, he's got the King Kilo issue, and I assume there's going to be countless of other issues with people plotting behind his back. He's going to have law enforcement on his tail. Like I said, Diamond, Shanti, and
Right.
Junard, they're plotting against him. So, I can see a scenario where literally the walls are closing in on Tommy, where it's literally
Mhm.
everybody against Tommy, and he is back against the wall. The only person that's in his corner is D-Mac, JP. Maybe he's got maybe one or two. Obviously, Liliana's gone. Oh, death that I think should never have happened. I think she became a real fan favorite in season one, but I don't think the actress wanted to kind of stay past season one. I think I maybe mistaken, but that's something from an article I've read. But yeah, I think the world is going to be against Tommy, and I think probably last resort, the only option that Tommy has left, the only number that he can probably find in his contact list that he can probably kind of call or trust to kind of back him. And I don't think he'd be making it if he had any other choice. I think if he had any other choice to
Yeah.
take it, I think Tariq is last resort. I think that's where I stand with that, and I think we'll see him, and I think that will probably set up the next phase of the Power Universe, which is probably why we've not gotten an announcement. I think we probably have to talk about the next kind of Power shows and the next phase of the Power Universe as well. I think if once we've kind of probably seen what happens in Chicago for season 3, that's
Mhm.
probably when they'll probably announce the next set of Power shows. Because if they kind of announce it now, maybe does it spoil Force, or does it kind of build up hype? I guess you could argue a bit of both.
Yeah, I feel like it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could argue a bit of
I
both.
feel like one thing that stars loves to do is just like keep us waiting.
Yeah,
Like they really don't care. Like
yeah,
they just drop stuff when they want to drop stuff. That's why when people be trying to like predict these dates and stuff, I'm like, you just never know with them. Like we would expect Raising Kanan to come around December, but do they want to do that? You know what I mean? We haven't really gotten any news, but even kind of like you said earlier, like 50 loves to stir stuff when he wants to make announcements. And I feel like people have been talking about Raising Kanan a lot lately. We know they're halfway done filming season 5 right now. So that's pretty great news. The wait won't be as bad between 4 and 5. But with the whole Tommy thing, like, what, do you even think they should continue Tommy's story? Do you even think they should continue Tariq's story? Don't you just feel like maybe Origins is where they should end things off? Because for me, it's like, okay, you could do a show with Tommy and Tariq, but I mean, for what for? We've already kind of seen them have their own shows and do their own thing. Bringing them together would definitely get views, but I mean, is it really progressing to a story where they're going to have a future? Really?
100%. And I think this is probably
Yeah.
a bit of a controversial one as a power reviewer, YouTuber, and for yourself as well. But
Yeah.
this answer probably might not be what everybody wants to hear. But I think at some point you do have to kind of end the universe. Do you know what I mean? And you're
Yeah.
gonna end these character arcs. They do tease power never ends, and I think for as long as there's an audience, I think there's always going to be an audience
Yeah.
for power. Do you know what I mean? I think there's always going to be an
Mhm.
audience, and I think for as long as there's an audience, they'll give us more power after power, and I think I think for Tommy's character, I do. Do you know what? I do think the next show has to be the end, because where do you then take his character after that? Where do you take
Yeah.
it? How far do you really go with his character? And as sad as it is to say, I think Tommy's a fan favorite. I love Tommy. I think Joseph Sikora, absolutely nailed it. And Joseph Sikora is a really great guy. I've spoken to him a couple of times as well, and he really kind of takes some time out to reply to some of my posts and breakdowns. And as much as I love his character, at some point he's gonna have to go.
Yep.
He's gonna have to go, and I think the
Like, come
one,
on, man. How Ghost dead and everybody just gets to just get a happy ending?
yeah,
It's
it's not gonna be a happy
like
ending.
that's
And
what
you know what
really
it is?
kills me, man. Like, Ghost is dead.
Yeah, but you know what it is? I think with Tommy's character, I think because he's similar to Kanan in that sense, where he's street through and through. He doesn't know
Mhm.
he doesn't know any other life. Ghost tried to kind
Yeah.
of kind of sway him over to kind of retiring, going down a legit path. That's not what Tommy wanted. He wanted to be the biggest drug dealer. That's what he wants. He wants to take over and be the kind of king of the world, king of Chicago, king of the drug trade, wherever he is. And I think at some point it's going to catch up with him. When you're at the top of the game, someone's always looking to bring you down. And I think the one person that can kind of tie the story together in terms of Tommy and Tariq is the Italians with Carlo Civello, the Civello mob, and Elisa Marie Proctor.
I saw your video about that.
Yeah, I think that
You know what's
conversation.
crazy? I actually made a video about this a few months ago. Apparently, the person who plays Elisa Marie's aunt is supposed to be reportedly in season 3. So
Interesting.
hopefully Elisa Marie returns, because you remember at the end of was it Power season 6 when they had kind of Tommy's little perspective episode, and he told Elisa Marie like, you can come see me about it someday.
Yep.
There's no way he said that for no reason, bro.
100%. Yeah.
There's no way. And kind of with you saying how the walls are going to be closing in on him. Well, if Elisa Marie comes too, like that's a whole nother problem.
100%.
And with the Italians and everything. So, because I remember I was at the Power premiere for Power Book 2 Ghost premiere for season 4 back in June. And Joseph was there on the red carpet and they was interviewing him, and he was saying like for season 3 is going to be the best season ever in Power. Obviously, he's biased. That's his show. He should say that. But the way he was hyping it up, I have high expectations, especially with the way the Power Book 2 Ghost ended. Yeah.
I think what excites me is Gary Lennon. Gary Lennon is a power.
Yeah.
Him being back at the helm. I think you saw a bit. I think season 1 of Force did not do Joseph Sikora and the story justice at all. I think the Dahlia storyline, if I'm going to be kind of frank, honest, and transparent, I think that storyline was absolutely fucking trash. That Dahlia, it just did not fit well in a Power show, in my opinion. And I think, I think they'd probably agree as well. And because the way kind of Gary Lennon came in and completely got rid of it within half an hour in that first episode of season 2. They deaded Dahlia. They got back to basics. They had a lot of rebuilding to do, and I think they did it. I think they did it well under the circumstances, what they were kind of given with in season 1, and that's why I'm looking forward to season 3, really seeing what he's kind of got in store for us. Because I think season 1 got off to a really bad start, and it, after that it was always going to be kind of uphill. But season 2, you could tell they kind of really brought out the real kind of Chicago elements into the season. They had one thing I loved was the backstory that they gave between Tommy and Kate. They delved deep into the history, and also Tommy's trauma in terms of him losing an unborn baby with Holly's hallucination. I think that was so symbolic. I think that was one of the best scenes of season 2. Really well played by really well kind of acted by Joseph Sikora, and also the actress who plays Holly Weaver. Name's gone out my head at the minute. But
I don't know her name either.
Mine just gone blank there. But yeah, really well.
She was great though. She was phenomenal.
She was phenomenal in Power. She was really great in Power, and I think they kind of really stepped it up in season 2 in so many different ways. Let's hope it continues. Let's hope it definitely continues and beyond.
So let me ask you about that, right? Because I'm glad you mentioned Gary Lennon. Have you noticed that, like, when the OG Power people that we know, the Gary Lennons, the Sasha Penns, when they're involved in these shows, it's just way different. Versus when they have other writers and other people, like the stories just don't flow as well. Like when I heard that Sasha Penn was going to be involved in Power Origins, I was like, okay, we should be fine, right?
100%.
But it's like, I feel like it really matters who's writing these shows because it makes a difference. Like you said, the Dahlia story, and like that just didn't flow in Power. We know if things go coke, like there are certain things that they like to do, and it's a staple for Power. And that the whole Dahlia storyline didn't do justice to Tommy's character at all.
100%.
Season 2 was way better, way better. And I
Yeah.
feel like they've set it up well with, the whole Vic thing. Even the whole Vic thing, Tommy would have normally just killed a snitch,
Hmm.
but they're giving us kind of a different perspective. He's moving a little bit more like Ghost in Force now. So I definitely agree with that. They need to be careful with who they have writing these shows.
Yeah, I think a great point you touched on with Sasha Penn. I think,
Yeah.
especially Sasha Penn with Raising Kanan, you can tell like he really kind of just ignores the outside noise in terms of a lot of the audience. We want Breeze.
Mhm.
When's Ghost and Tommy coming? Is this character
Yo,
Breeze?
the Breeze
Yo,
thing, bro. Oh my
yeah,
God. I gotta get your
yeah,
thoughts on the whole Breeze thing, bro. Do
yeah,
you really believe Unique is Breeze? Because this is the
nah,
number one thing that I have gotten on my social media the last like 4 months. Like people will argue this to death. And these are the same people who said the same thing about Ronnie. The same thing.
yeah. Now, my opinion is, I've given it before. I think I don't think Unique is Breeze. It makes no
Thank God.
it makes no absolute sense for Unique to be Breeze. I've said it before.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, he's been Unique for 3 seasons. Do you think? I mean, am I then changing his name to Breeze and calling him Breeze after calling him Unique for 3 seasons? Is he going to change his nickname?
Yeah.
I get the perspective of characters kind of reinventing themselves, and people like Kanan have given themselves new nicknames such as Slim, etc.
Hmm.
I think that was under different circumstances, and I think him coming back as
Hmm.
him coming back as Breeze makes no sense. Him kind of changing his name, he's definitely going to be a different character compared to what he's been through and for what
Yeah.
for what he's done. But him changing his name to Breeze. Nah, I'm not having that. I genuinely don't think he's Breeze. I think all these people that are probably saying kind of Unique is Breeze may have had the same theory of Ronnie being Breeze,
Hmm.
which I was never on board with either. I think when we get introduced to Breeze, we'll know he's Breeze. We'll see him,
Yeah.
and when he
Hmm.
appears, that's when he appears. Do you know what I mean? I think the most perfect time to introduce Breeze would be Raising Kanan season 5, end credit scene, or the final scene just to hype up Power Origins. We're gonna finally
Yeah.
kind of meet the big boss, the boss who kind of really mentored Kanan, Ghost, and Tommy. So I think that's probably the most opportunistic time for them to introduce Breeze. Having said that, it would be quite interesting to see whether he is kind of in our faces and we just don't know it. I still
Mm.
think it's Unique. I still believe in my original theory, which I'm gonna hold since season 1, and that is D-Wiz's brother. And the reason why I'm saying D-Wiz's brother, I want your take on this theory as well. The reason why I'm saying D-Wiz's brother is, like you said, Sasha Penn is such someone who takes care in his writing in the show. He's patient. He ignores the outside noise. In Raising Kanan, when you kind of get a mention of a character such as Ellie Tyler, we're going to see him in season 4. He was mentioned in season 1, and he was also mentioned in season 3 by Ronnie. We're now going to see Ellie
Hmm.
Tyler. Unique's brother Ronnie was mentioned in season 1 of Raising Kanan. We met him in season 3. All of these little Easter eggs are always kind of touched on. All of these characters are always kind of brought back. The one character who we've not put a face to the name, and the one character that they've not given us a name for, is D-Wiz's brother. And why?
Mm.
Why is the question? I think they're waiting for a specific moment. Lulu was the one who was behind D-Wiz's death. We know
Hmm.
Kanan felt some type of way about D-Wiz's death because obviously he was his best friend. And I think when you kind of bring in D-Wiz's brother, you don't think he's going to kind of look for revenge or kind of seek answers about what happened to his brother D-Wiz? You don't think he's going to kind of question Kanan or someone in the streets like, yo, who killed my brother? and I kind of need to know answers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel like it really just depends if they want to capitalize on that or not. Because will they even introduce his brother? You
I
know,
I
like you
think so.
never really know with them. Yeah, I feel like if they do, I'm not sure he would be Breeze, but I feel like that would be another villain they could kind of add, to kind of go after the Rock's family and everything like that. My only thing is like, why wait so long to introduce this character? You know what I mean? Like D-Wiz died in what, the first season? Why, why wait so long to introduce him? And then I also feel like they do have, a lot of storylines going on right now with, kind of Rock being back into the game. And we know that her supplier kind of told her like, you're in for good this time. Like you don't get to leave again and come back. And then we know that, Snaps and Pop, they're gonna want war for Ronnie getting killed. He owed them a ton of money. So I just feel
Hmm.
like they got a lot of storylines. I could see him coming in like season 5. Like after this season, the family escapes death again and they get kind of like one more chance at it.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that happening. I trust Sasha Penn, man. Like whatever he does, I'm on board with. Like
yeah,
he's that good. So I feel like Raising Kanan is the best spin-offs, the most well written. I also feel like they have an advantage because they're prequels, so they don't have to really rush as much. It's not like present day, like Power Book 2 and everything like that. And they have obviously an extra season. So that's what I'm waiting on. I don't care about any other show.
yeah. I think with
BMF
Pakistan, it's
is nah.
it's in good hands. But let's
Yeah.
see whether we. I'm sure we'll probably do another podcast at some point after that. Towards Raising Kanan season 4, or when it kind of comes to an end, and then we can kind of discuss where we are with it, and whether kind of Divis has appeared or whether he is Breeze or not. Then we can definitely kind of touch base on it again. So yeah, let's kind of park that one and let's see what happens. But yeah, definitely in good hands.
Yep. Yeah, hopefully we get some sort of announcement within the next month or so. I know we just waiting for something.
Yeah, I
So we'll
mean,
definitely touch bases on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think if we probably don't get the trailer this month, then I'd probably say we probably maybe get the trailer in December, and it'll probably come in the new year. That's
Hmm.
probably if we don't get it this month. But yeah, winter runs on till March, I guess. So
Yep.
it could even be January. So I'm hoping it's December. I'm hoping we get that trailer this week or next week with the December kind of with their date. But like you said, Stars loves to keep us on our toes.
Hmm. Yeah, I hope it does too. Man, thank you, man. I really appreciate this. I feel like the people, they're gonna enjoy this one, hearing our thoughts and everything. People have been pressing me, man. When I told some of my followers I'm about to do a podcast with you, they were like, "Oh, ask him this, ask him this, ask him this." I'm like, "Yo, we're gonna get to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
we're gonna get to it. This will be a
Yeah.
good one for sure." So I really appreciate you, man, and we're definitely gonna touch bases again.
No, I genuinely appreciate for you having me on your show, and again, I'd in the future again I'm sure we'll probably have a few more of these episodes as the Power Universe kind of grows, and definitely. But thank you again for having me on. I'm sure I'm hoping the your Power fans kind of community um love the podcast, and I'm sure they'll love it, and I'll push it towards my kind of
Absolutely, yeah. I'll get this up tonight. I work fast. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah.